Hi everyone, George here from Lockt on Art. In this video, I will be working on my latest commission to repaint this tin sculpture replica of a UH-1 Iroquois helicopter, or Huey to the Americans, to represent one used by the Royal Australian Air Force in the Vietnam War, flying between 1968 and 1970, trying to make it look as realistic as possible. The sculpture itself is not entirely accurate, but it is very well made and all of the details are present. The rotor blades rotate, and also the tail rotor. It has the engine with an exhaust. It has the gearbox shaft. It has the landing skids and also the rear skid. It also has interior detail with seats. It's just an all-round nice looking piece. And I'm really looking forward to this project, so we'll dive straight in and get started. The first thing I need to do is give it a good clean, get rid of all that dust and grime ready for priming. Just using a toothbrush with a bit of detergent and water. Okay, so the helicopter is ready for priming now. I removed the rotor blade just for ease of painting. It was also decided that we remove the guns on the sides of the doors. They looked a bit clunky and a bit tacky, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint them as I would the sculpture. That way, if he decided to put them back on, they would match up with the rest of the sculpture. I'm using Tamiya's surface primer. It's just what I had in the garage, so that's what I'm going to use. And now for the base coat, I went to my local paint shop and got a digital scan colour match from a photo that I took in. So I'll get the base coat on and then I'll start shading. So it's taken about 5 or 6 coats to get to this point. You really can't rush through this stage. If you apply the paint too thick, then it will start to run and look horrible. I do lighter coats. It takes a lot longer, but it does dry quicker and you get a nice uniform finish. Now that the base coat is all finished, I'm going to add a bit of post shading. We're just going to start off with the darker shade. And for the lighter base coat, it will be used in the larger panel areas. I have my airbrush quite low for this one, it's about 20 psi. So you can see it's quite a subtle step, but it's made a huge difference to the initial base coat. Now I'll be painting in the basic details. What I'm going to do now is put all the stenciling in place and then mask off all the other areas. There are advantages and disadvantages of using stencils. The disadvantages being it takes quite a long time, it is quite labour intensive, but the major advantages are clean lines, really professional looking finish, and it just really adds to the piece. There are a few set of numbers to be applied to the sculpture. Instead of painting these on freehand, I'm going to be using some spare decals that I have. Just the white ones, 03. And I'm going to be sticking them on with Micro Set and Micro Sol. Just apply a bit of the Micro Set first. Now stick it in place with the Micro Sol. Be careful not to move them. If they're moved out of place, then just readjust it before it's set. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply some chipping and weathering with a sponge. Just dabbing in areas, raised areas mainly. Just anywhere where the paint would chip off with regular use or contact. Just using a sponge so I can cover a larger area as opposed to using a paintbrush. And it keeps it realistic and random. Now I'm going to apply that same technique to the decals and insignia. Once again using a sponge. Just going to use a bit of the base coat and chip away. I'll now seal the entire sculpture in a clear gloss, and then I can start weathering. So this next step is called a dark pen wash. It's just quite a localized wash. It gets into all the cracks and lines, giving a bit of depth to the piece, and also makes the features stand out a bit more. It's just a mixture of watered down black oil paint with some white spirits. Once it's almost dry, I'll wipe away all of the excess. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to wipe away the excess with a paper towel. The next thing we need to do is some basic rain and grime streaks. Just alternating using some white and black oil paint and then just streaking it down. And just keep going down in the direction you want the streak to go, and just keep going until it's almost vanished, making it quite subtle. I am now going to be applying the rust and rust stains using a burnt umber oil paint. It's the same as before, just dabbing it on and then streaking it down. Just going over the areas where I've done chipping already. Just the exposed metal would be rusting. And seal all that work in now with a clear matte coat. Going to give it a little coating of buff and then some flat earth just to simulate the dust and dirt underneath the helicopter. And now a little bit of flat earth just into the centre of where I've been with the buff. This step I'll be dry brushing a bit of khaki paint onto the body. This will highlight the raised areas and further enhance the weathered look. So wherever possible you want to be working against the raised area. Just continuously brushing until you have the desired effect. So one of the last things to be done is to rust up the exhaust. Just using some MIG pigments. This is a standard rust. I also have black smoke and light rust. So the way I use these is I just do a base with a bit of the acrylic thinner and the standard rust. And then I get some dried pigment and start dusting it in, alternating with the light rust, standard rust and black smoke. And I just keep blending them in until it looks right. So here is the finished piece, and I think it is a vast improvement on the original paint job. I've tried to make it as realistic as possible, adding all the markings and insignia of the Royal Australian Air Force 9 Squadron. I've had a lot of fun with this project, and I hope my customer is as happy as I am with the piece. If you have anything in need of a repaint, customized or built from scratch, please feel free to get in touch with me via my Facebook page. And if you would like to see more videos like this, then please subscribe, and thanks very much for watching.